Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and publisher of an interconnected universe of comics called Triumphant Comics. So I can tell you from experience, Marvel Phase 4 is when the MCU completely collapsed. It's a complete and total collapse of its interconnected universe. Incredibly, there's an article from Variety talking about how it's not important that there's no point to Phase 4. Not important! Look, individual characters, individual stories, all doing their own things, hopefully well-told stories, hopefully well-developed characters, all kind of coming together and dealing with world events and things like that, and interrelating them and interlocking them. It's complicated and it's difficult, but the payoff is immense. There's nothing like it. That's why with MCU, there was really nothing to compare with it. But if you're going to do these separate stories, and if the things aren't going to come together and there's going to be a deeper meaning to them, then you know something? It doesn't work. It starts to get people fatigued, as we've heard, and it becomes superhero fatigue. Superhero fatigue. That's the new phrase. No, they're not fatigued with that. They're fatigued with if the story is going to go nowhere and the character's appearance is essentially meaningless, then why are you going to do that character? Why are you going to do that story? So meaningless to the extent that with Black Panther wasn't even in his own sequel. And everyone had said, well, everyone, but whatever. Marvel put out, oh, we love Chadwick Boseman, so this is a really memorial to him, and we, honor him. You can't do that because that is the kind of stuff that absolutely destroys whatever the interconnected universe is that you have that has so much value to it. People aren't happy. So this article in Variety kind of explains, oh, there's just so much content. You've got to forgive Marvel. They've got so much to do, and there's so many things going on that, of course, Marvel understands that not everybody's going to watch everything. Well, what's interesting about that is we recently saw there was an interesting survey from fandom.com that interviewed 5,000 people. They took 5,000 surveys talking about how much of Marvel's content are you interested in? Would you see anything Marvel? Does it have to be specifically character-based? And they also compared it to DC. And we did a video about this a couple weeks ago, and what the respondents said, 81% of them said anything Marvel they will watch. They're interested in it just because it's Marvel. But the issue is, when you do Phase 4, that takes advantage of the past. That's their attitude today. But after people consume Phase 4 and they realize where is all of this going? What is this? It's all self-indulgent junk for the most part. So the audience is not going to feel that way about Marvel in the future. And Marvel knows that, which is why in the Direct, we see this article, Marvel reportedly unhappy with Phase 4. Well, why is Marvel unhappy with it? They're the ones that made the damn thing. They're unhappy with it because they're starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, we can't pretend that the merchandise not selling, that the woke characters, that the nonsense that we've put in is really going to be something people are patient with. And interestingly, with Chapek not working out at Disney, Chapek probably had some good intentions. I've been reading more about what Chapek was doing. I've done several videos on him. However, he didn't have control of the place. You can't be the CEO and not have control of the place. Similarly, what they're doing with Marvel, if it doesn't make sense, they can't keep doing it. Because what they did in Phase 4 that they got away with was on the strength of people's interest in Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. And they're very well aware of that. They can put out whatever woke junk they want to put out. They can put stuff out that there's no continuity and there's no higher meaning for the entire phase. I mean, can you imagine they're spending billions of dollars on content for each of these phases, but they won't take the time to sit down and figure out, how could we kind of tie all this together and make it that much more powerful if people are watching, let's say 80% or even 100% of all the content? That's their job. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Let's get into this article from the Direct. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up when you like it. Marvel reportedly unhappy with Phase 4, considering major changes to Phase 5 and 6 slate. Marvel Studios could be making some massive changes to their Phase 5 and Phase 6 lineups after the negative reception to some of the content in Phase 4. There's no denying that this first new phase of MCU content post-Avengers Endgame was mixed. While some projects like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever and Spider-Man No Way Home were widely praised, movies such as The Eternals and Thor, Love and Thunder missed the mark for many. And a lot of us think that it's ridiculous that they did Black Panther, Wakanda Forever without even having Black Panther in it. Many feel that this is due to Marvel Studios and Disney focusing on quantity over quality. especially when it comes to utilizing Disney Plus as a storytelling tool. Nearly all of those new MCU shows had reactions ranging all over the place, with She-Hulk Attorney at Law and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier taking the brunt of the negativity. And just so you know, they spent $25 million per episode for She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and same with all the Marvel Disney Plus shows. Why? Because God only knows, but they shouldn't. Now, following a lukewarm reception to Phase 4 and the firing of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek, Marvel Studios is starting to look to make some changes. MCU multiverse saga shuffle on the way? Well, could very well be. A new report from the Cosmic Circus sources revealed how Marvel Studios might be facing some big changes after Bob Iger's return as CEO, and the negative feedback Phase 4 has received from fans and critics. Many believe the last 2 years of Marvel content have been lukewarm and that the studio is prioritizing quantity over quality. According to Cosmic Circus and the outlet's sources, Marvel themselves have picked up on those worries, imagine that, and the overall approach for Phase 4. So now, quote, as a preventative measure to assure quality control, both Marvel and Disney are reevaluating the future releases of Phase 5 and beyond that are not already in production. This is a way of saying, like, they just woke up that, you know what? The tricks that you were doing in accounting, where you made it like okay to overspend on content that wasn't good and was completely woke, they're not going to actually work anymore. So they're going to need to cut back on a lot of their releases. For example, Armor Wars was one, what was it, a month or two ago, that they said, oh, we're not going to do this 6-episode series, but we're going to make it a film instead. It's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. They've already been looking at it and realizing, oh my God, people really don't like this stuff. We're in big trouble. We better start cutting back quick. Their sources say that Marvel Studios is hoping to hammer in a quality over quantity take on its future projects to avoid the issues it faced with Phase 4. They note that one move considered by Marvel and Disney is to develop a sort of creative oversight on the MCU's future in order to establish more quality control moving forward. Like, isn't that what Kevin Feige does? Can you tell me in the comments below who's supposed to be responsible for creative oversight on MCU? I did think it was Kevin Feige. The Cosmic Circus also reiterated how they'd heard that special presentations are gaining more traction behind the scenes as a medium to deliver more potential projects moving forward. Because as a one-off, even the horrendous She-Hulk makes sense and most people would have watched it. And if they didn't like it, they would have just said, oh, okay, well, that's not for me. But if it was a big hit, then they could have invested more resources in it. Of course, those one-shot special presentations make a lot of sense. It's worth noting that even with any changes, Phase 5 is likely to contain a similar amount of releases to Phase 4, assuming nothing already announced is outright canceled. And probably some things will be. The important thing is that fans shouldn't expect Marvel Studios to start increasing its output even more than the studio is currently doing. What will change for Phases 5 and 6? After hearing the news, there's likely one question running through the mind. What changes should be expected? As Cosmic Circus pointed out, which is actually a really good website, you should definitely check them out, any outright cancellations of Disney Plus series or theatrical movies are unlikely. Shifts in format are more probable, such as the rumor of Nova shifting from series to special presentation or Armor Wars going from a show to a movie, which it's going to go to a special presentation if they even do it. Looking ahead to 2024, only 2 series are known, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, and Daredevil Born Again. Charlie Cox's show even has 18 episodes, meaning that it will run for a good chunk of the year. Past that, the only 2 projects that seem to be in the works as shows are Vision Quest and Wonder Man. Currently, it isn't known if they'd be part of a Phase 5 or a Phase 6. It's hard to pinpoint if this will lead to fewer shows overall or just few newer IPs. I will tell you, it will be fewer shows and fewer IPs. They will take more and more advantage of the special presentation format because it's a one-shot budgeted item, not some massive ongoing expensive commitment. For example, while there might not be as many newly introduced series, there will be more space for Marvel to explore second seasons. No, do not expect to see a second season for Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight. Maybe Moon Knight. There's limited interest, there really is. And their budgets for these things are astronomical. What would make sense would be to not have much in the way of any second seasons and to release a few special presentations and then just kind of get their feet again about like, look, you control your budgets, put out things people like, listen to what the fans say. With how much content Marvel Studios has access to, some might not be able to help but feel the MCU won't be able to build everything it needs to in time for Avengers Secret Wars. Whatever happens, this will be a good move for Marvel Studios. Phase 4 was a mixed bag for many. It was generally terrible. And a reevaluation like this should help assure fans that the company cares about its final products. It pushes out the door. The next MCU project, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is set to hit theaters on February 17th, 2023. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think they'll make changes to Phases 5 and 6? Do you think the pressure is really on now because they realize, uh-oh, this is not just going to keep going on forever, and maybe it's not going to keep going on right now? Let me know what you think. I really appreciate your comments. Also, be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.